Okay guys, I'm going to add this to the series of videos where I show the pattern for earthquakes. And I'm going to try to take and draw this out for you in kind of graph form. And what you have on this side is a 0 magnitude earthquake, and then on up to 8 magnitude. It can go all the way up to 10 or 11 magnitude. Over here on the bottom line is time. As the time moves forward, this is basically what the pattern is that you have. I'm going to click right here. I'll just change this to blue. Okay. What you have, let's just say we're like, for example, right now we're in the mid 5s. So let's just say we're in the mid 5s and we come along pretty flat. Let's just hold shift down. Okay, so if we stay in the mid 5s and it just stays flat, sometimes what happens is you take a dip, and that brings it down below the 5.2, 5.3, 5.4 magnitude. And if it maintains either in a downward pattern, continuing to go down, or instead of that, let's just say it continues to go flat. Either way, actually let me do this. Let's say it drops down into below 5.4, as I said in the videos, 5.3, 5.4. With an occasional 5.5, 5.6, whatever, just somewhere in there. And let's just say then from that point it just maintains. What happens is as time moves forward, after that 72-hour window hits, you get a spike, which could be a 6, a 7, an 8, a 9, a 10. It could be anything. And that spike may continue to go just like this, and then it starts to level back down, and eventually it'll come back down again to that 5.0 range. Okay, that's almost always the pattern. I mean, like this has been the pattern for like the last year and a half now. Okay, let me get rid of some of these. Another one of the patterns that you get is it will actually go down and then literally get way down into the 4.0 range and stay in that range anywhere from 4 to 5 magnitude and just stay there for 72 hours, and then it will spike up. And eventually it hits a high point and it goes back down. And it may stay up in the mid 5s or mid 6s and just kind of level out around here, and then it may drop again. What I keep trying to show you guys is this pattern that is here, this spike. This spike continually happens after the 72-hour window when you're staying in the mid to low 5s, 4s, in that range on a global basis. That's when you get the spikes up into the 6s or up into the 7s and even up into the 8s or 9s in the case of Japan. But this is the normal pattern. You stay in the 5s. Okay, you stay in the 5 range anywhere from about 5.4 onward, and it may go slightly downhill, and it may go back uphill and just kind of stay right around that area, and it may drop and keep dropping, and it may fall all the way down into the 4s for a while, and you know, let's just say right here is 0 hours, and then you've got 24 hours, and then you've got 48 hours, and now you're at the 72-hour window right here. Okay, and at that point it may continue to stay level across like this for even more time, beyond the 72 hours, or it may start to go down even more until it gets into the low 4s, or it may even go up a little bit and stay in the low 5s and just kind of ride it out in the 5s, in the 5.2 and the 5.3, 5.4, maybe an occasional 5.5 or 5.6, and it just kind of rides around. But once you've passed that 72-hour window, within days to 2 weeks at the most, that's the longest I've ever seen it go, is 2 weeks in time. Okay, so down here in time, from the 72-hour window, anywhere from a couple days, 24 hours, 48 hours, all the way up to a week, maybe even 2 weeks. 2 weeks being the absolute longest I've ever seen it go. But it'll stay basically between here, 5.6, and the low fours, the very, very low fours on a global basis. When that happens, after you've passed the 24, 48, 72 hour window, every time you get a spike at least into the 6.4 range and as high as up into the 9s. Okay, I'm hoping that this will help to explain the pattern that we're seeing. Now let me back this up a little bit. Okay, now looking back at this same map, I want to show you what happens the other pattern that I talked about in the same video. As these earthquakes spread, quote, throughout the earth, or diverse places as the word puts it, what happens is, as they spread forward, you first start to get negative earthquakes. Okay, and again, USGS won't show it unless it's in the United States, Puerto Rico, Alaska, or any U.S. territory. Okay, it starts out in the zeros, and you may get an occasional, or in the negatives, and you may get an occasional spike up into the 0 point whatever range. Okay, and then it'll just kind of toy around down here as time goes forward. It'll just kind of bounce around down here, and then about a month goes by, and let's just say this is 1 month right here. Okay, and then all of a sudden you'll get a spike up into the 1s, and then it'll just kind of play around into the zeros right here, and just kind of play around. It may hit 1 again, and then it'll just kind of play around, just like kind of like this. And let's say this is a 2-month mark, or even 3 months mark. It just varies, but this is the general pattern. Once the earthquakes get started, once it spreads into a new area, or a new continent, or a new ocean, or a new sea, or a new whatever, this is the pattern that takes place. So a month, let's say this is 1 month, let's say this is either 2 months or 3 months, all of a sudden you'll get a spike up into the 2 magnitude earthquakes, and then they'll kind of play around in the 1s and play around in here, and maybe fall back down into the zeros and just kind of play around down here for a little while. But notice it ain't falling back into the negatives. Okay, the negatives have now gone away, and they're all positive earthquakes. Okay, let's just say this is the 3-month or 4-month or 5-month mark, and all of a sudden you'll get a spike up into the 3s, and then it'll fall back down into the 2s and play around, then down into the 1s and play around, and then maybe even down into the low 0 point whatever magnitude quakes. Okay, and let's say this is about the 5 or 6 or 7th month mark. All of a sudden you'll get a spike up into the 4s, and then it'll just kind of do what it does, play around down here, and like this. Get that connected there. Let's just say this is an 8-month mark, or 9-month, or 10-month, or whatever. Again, that it varies. All of a sudden you'll get a spike up into the 5s, and then it'll play around. But once you've hit this mark right here, 5.0, okay, the time thing is a variable. It may be a couple months, it may go from the 0 magnitudes up to the 5s within a couple months, or it may take a year or 2 years to get there. There's been absolutely no pattern concerning the amount of time it takes to go from negative quakes up to the 5.0. But once it hits one earthquake in a 5.0 magnitude range, once it gets there, at that point it may play around down here, or let me back this up here a little bit, or you may just get a spike all the way up into the 9s. Okay, you can get a spike in the 6s, 7s, and 8s once it hits the 5.0 magnitude range, and then it may fall all the way back down to here and just play around down here for a while and start climbing again. Okay, but here's what I want you to see. The pattern is, once the earthquakes start in any given area, look at the pattern. It will always climb like this until it hits the 5-point magnitude. That's when you get the serious spikes that can jump way up and play up there for a while, or they can fall all the way back down in here. So those are the two patterns. When the earthquakes spread into a new area, they always start in the negatives, and they're not reported by USGS unless it's USGS or United States territory. But once they get into the 4.6 magnitude range, right around in here, at this point they'll show up on USGS. Okay, but if you want to see the negative magnitude earthquakes and the zeros, the ones, the twos, the threes, you'll have to go to the seismic charts on the internet for that given area, like the European seismic charts, or wherever you want to go, Australia, whatever. You have to go specifically there because USGS will not show it if it's below a 4.6. So you won't be able to see this pattern until it gets to 4.6. Then USGS will start to show those numbers: 4.6, 4.7, 4.8, and on up. So there's your two patterns, guys. I'm going to attach this to the series of videos about the pattern, because right now I absolutely do not have the time or the opportunity to put the videos out to warn you ahead of time of when these big quakes that are in the 6s and 7s are going to hit. Okay, I don't always have the opportunity. So what I've tried to do is give you a series of videos to show you the pattern of how this works, so that you can warn yourself or put videos out and warn other people, even if I'm not able to put a video out myself. That way you can pass the information on and say, look guys, heads up, there's a possible huge quake coming. We're in this pattern that I just showed you before all this, where we've been below 5.4 with an occasional 5.5 and 5.6 here and there, but we've been basically in the 5.4 and below range for the last 72 hours. There's a 6.4 plus quake coming, which could be a 6.4, 6.9, a 7.1, a 8.7, whatever. Okay, so I tried to show you that because, guys, look, first and foremost, I don't make any money whatsoever on any video that I make. Okay, for me, it's not about money. My Father in heaven, He provides everything we need. One way or another, we make it through. How He does it, I don't know, but He manages to do it every time. We're always taken care of. I don't ask for money from anybody. I don't ask for donations. There's no income whatsoever for me on these videos. I don't get the advertisement revenue. I've turned all that off. None of that's, there's no income. Okay, I do this solely for warning people, to give them a heads up, to give them a fighting chance if things come to their area. So there's no income for me from any video that I make. And what Father's doing locally at this point is more critical and more important than what's happening on a global scale. He's got plenty of people out there warning about things that are happening on a global scale. So what I've done is I've just simply tried to show you the two separate patterns that I know exist and that have proven true time and time again. Now, both of these patterns, actually this one is not, but the other pattern where it falls below the 5.4 and for a 72-hour window, that pattern is subject to change. This one has never changed. It's just been on a steadily increase. Once the earthquake spread into a new area, it's a steady increase in magnitude and in frequency as well, how often they happen. Now, does this have anything to do with the electric universe or the electric planets and so forth, so on? Perhaps it does. The cause, or what Father uses to establish His word or to fulfill His word, doesn't matter. It is the fulfillment of the word that matters. How He does it, or through whom, or through what He does it, doesn't matter. What matters is that you see the word is being fulfilled before your very eyes, that you take the blinders off and look at reality. And if you don't know what the word says, you can never know if the word's being fulfilled or not. So get in the word, stay in the word, and get the word in you. Okay? Don't go to the preacher, don't go to the growing awareness, and don't go to anybody else for to decide what the word says. You go read it, you decide for yourself. It's the only way you're ever going to know. Okay? You can't say, oh, well, this guy said. No, it doesn't matter what that guy said. What did the Spirit say to you when you were reading the word? When you were in the word, what did He say to you? That's what matters. Okay, so there's your two patterns. I'm going to attach this to the other series. Hopefully this will help you so that if I'm not able to get a video out, you can go ahead and warn yourself, okay, we're sitting in the 5.0 range. Let's take a look here. Okay, here we are. Looking about the last 18 hours or so. Just move this on up a little bit to show the 5.0s and bigger, and as you can see, the biggest quake here is a 5.5. In the last 24 hours, the biggest quake is a 5.7. So you've got basically everything's below a 5.4, with an occasional 5.5 and a 5.7. No big deal. It's still within that pattern. Okay, that's 24 hours, and you're looking at 48 hours. And at 48 hours, this is where the sixes come in. Okay, so right now we're in the downswing, and if it stays that way or continues to come down more, either way, as long as it stays below the 5.4 range with only an occasional 5.5, 5.6, 5.7, then you know the big quakes are coming. It's a continual pattern. Like I said, it's 5.0 and it goes down below there and it stays down there for 72 hours or more. You get a spike up, and then it may be a nice rounded spike where it happens over many days, where you get sixes and sevens for several weeks, or it could just be a spike and then a drop back down below. But every time you go back down below and you pass that 48 to 72 hour window, you're looking at a big quake, a 6.4 plus striking somewhere on this planet, and it's each and every time. So guys, even when I don't put these videos out, Earthquake 3D is absolutely free to download. Go download it, watch the pattern, and you'll be able to warn yourself. Okay, that's the key here, so that you're prepared for what's coming. I don't always have the opportunity or the time available to put out a video to warn you, but you can warn yourself once you see and understand the pattern, and understand that that pattern is basically subject to change at any given point in time. You know, you go back 2 years ago, this pattern itself didn't exist, but for the last year and a half, this pattern has held absolutely true each and every time. But eventually, as things worsen, this pattern is going to fade away and a new pattern is going to emerge. And so what you need to be watching for are the patterns, because the patterns is what enable you to have the heads up in time to be prepared for anything that might come your way. Anyways guys, I love you guys. Get it in the Word. Just get in there and read it for yourself. You decide if it's the Word of God or not. You decide if it's true or not. You decide those things. Okay? But you got to get in there. You got to read it. You got to decide for yourself. You got to get in the Word and get the Word in you, and then get the Word in you. You got to stay in the Word, guys, because that's where the truth is at. So I'll talk with you guys as soon as I can. I love you guys. Peace be with you all. And heads up again on the weather. Heads up on the earthquakes. Just be prepared, guys, for all the various events that are going on. The sun is very active right now. For those of you that don't know about the electric universe, you might want to look into it. Science has been basically lying to you about gravity and various things, but get in the Word. It'll tell you more about how the planets work and that kind of stuff as well. If you just read in between the verses, it's very clear how things are structured. So anyways guys, just big heads up, basically in all directions. Earthquakes, weather, meteorites impacting the earth, various things that are happening continually. I'll talk with you guys soon.